ask our questions, okay?
All right, I'll do the best I can.
Awesome. So what's your name? I didn't catch your name.
My name's Dennis.
Dennis, hi, nice to meet you. Where are you from, Dennis?
City, Missouri.
Okay. Okay, and is that a remote place? Is that pretty rural, or is it? I'm not familiar with Missouri. We're here in Michigan.
You're in Michigan. Well, we're Tennessee, Missouri.
Right. So are you is where you live? Are you in a city, or is it like rural area?
Yeah, the Midwest.
Right.
It's like a city, Kansas City, Missouri.
Oh, Kansas City. I didn't hear. Sorry, I'm out. I'm actually on vacation in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. So if I miss something here, I'm way away from everything right now.
Yeah, we're Kansas City, Missouri.
Okay, yeah. So that's a metropolitan area. So you have access to lots of different, physical therapy and prosthetics places and doctors and all those things. So some people call in and they're from places where it's really hard to get services.
Sure. I understand that.
So I heard you say that you have one prosthesis for a below the knee on one side.
Below the knee. Yeah, and no toes.
No toes on the other side. Which do you think gives you more challenge? Which side do you think gives you more challenges?
I ain't got no balance.
Right. So there are lots of different ways, with that partial foot prosthesis. I heard you say that you have kind of a piece of styrofoam that's stuck into your shoe, and that is the place to start. But there are different ways that those can be customized and made so that they give your ankle more support. And, sometimes they have to be built up so that they aren't just on your foot and actually come up a little higher on your calf so that it gives your ankle some support so that you have better control at your ankle.
Yeah.
And those are things that become a little less traditional, but there's lots of different methods for that sometimes we have to do.
Yeah, this styrofoam, it's not worth a darn. It doesn't do me no good.
Right.
Now, on its own, it doesn't do much.
With the styrofoam, did they give you like a carbon fiber foot plate to put underneath it?
Yeah, I do have that.
Okay. Yep. And like I said, that is the way to start. But sometimes we have to go things. So one thing that you can look at is looking into shoes that maybe, some things that would be simple shoes that would come up and give your ankle more support that could fit inside of. Would help increase control. And that's something that you could do, without your prosthetist.
Yeah. Yeah, he like say they don't build it up to very high. You like say if it gets too high, it hurts my foot.
Okay.
But other than that, I had one put on yesterday. I went down there yesterday and he kind of customized one, but I don't. Maybe I can't find the right shoe.
That is kind of a challenge. A lot of times they're so thick that they push your foot right out of the shoe, don't they?
Yeah, that's what it is. Well, it's like you said. So, trying to put the thing. And it happened. It took so long to get. They only gave me 14 therapies, to learn how to do things. They wouldn't pay for it.
Right. That's a real issue. That's a real issue with insurance coverage and how much therapy we get this day and age. That's one of the things.
They wouldn't. I don't know. It just seems like it seems like my foot swells up a little bit too. You know, like it's retaining water, but I know it's not. It's just the way it was cut off, I guess.
Right. So one thing I'd like to encourage you about the physical therapy and the limits that we have on the physical therapy is that in September, we're going to be starting our online step up exercise program again. So I'd really encourage you. And I mean, I know Bill or Brianna can kind of make sure that you have the information for that so that you know when to tune in. But if you come on, we'll be doing group exercises so that you can we help kind of target exercises towards balance. And now we don't mean it to replace physical therapy, but it's something that's a good program for when things like physical therapy run out and you can't get it anymore. So we'd be real excited to see you there. And, you know, we have lots of people that would love to talk to you. I mean, I know a few people that I work with that come that have a similar circumstance where they wear a prosthesis on one side and they have their toes missing on the other side. So it'd be something that you could talk to somebody that has this, you know, that is in a similar circumstance and find out what works for them, what hasn't worked, all those kinds of things too.
Well, that'd be great. Well, it's just something I got to live with, so.
Right. Exactly.
That'd be, you know, there's no turning back. Like I say, they, you know, like I say, when our doctor told me, oh, we put stents in them, you know, and they put a stent in there and told me I'd be back to work in a week, and next thing you know, I lost my leg. And then all of a sudden, my toes got infected, and they cut them off, and that was it.
Right.
Really depressing.
Well, I really thank you for sharing. And I mean, I will definitely, we want to get around and introduce everybody, but hopefully, you know, somebody else's story can help you too. So Bill or Brian, I'm on my phone, so I can't really see our participants. So could one of you guys kind of moderate and go through so we can make sure that everybody has a chance to do introductions?
Yeah, so typically how we do this is we kind of just go around the room and everybody introduces themselves, you know, level of amputation, when your amputation was, so how many years you've been doing it, and just, you know, a little bit about you. So I'll just kind of go in the order of who's on my screen. So Steve, you're kind of first if you want to introduce yourself, and then Candace will go to you next, okay?
Okay. Hi, my name's Steve Duncan. I'm a amputee below the knee on the left side. It was just 2 weeks ago I had my surgery. So, I mean, I was in the hospital 2 days, came home 2 days after. I'm diabetic. I live in New Jersey. But yeah, I mean, I had a problem for 14 years with my foot. I had the TMA. After the TMA, I had a show part amputation. I had AFOs, I had cam walkers. I've been through all the, you know, braces and inserts and all that crap.
Yep.
But it feels good. Like I mean, I got to say, it feels good to have my leg amputated. I feel better now than dealing with wound care every day and going to the doctor twice a week to a wound care center.
Well, good. I mean, it seems like you're in good spirits. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling good. I started physical therapy within 3 days after my surgery. I was up the same day. I had the epidural, the surgery. Within 5 hours, I was up. I did a lap around the hospital floor with my walker. I mean, I could get in and out of the shower. I mean, that was the harder part, learning to get in and out of a bathtub and pretty much sleeping at night because my stump area was sensitive. But I'm very tolerant to pain. I have not taken no pain meds.
Good. That's awesome.
And that's weird. And the weird thing is I don't have that phantom pain that everybody talks about is phantom pain. I don't have that. I mean, right now, I don't feel no pain in my stump area.
Oh, great. Great.
Yeah. Hopefully you stay one of the lucky ones and don't get that.
Yeah, I'm going August 14th next Monday to see the vascular surgeon for my first post-op to get the staples out. And then on the 23rd, I'm going to see, they call it the physical therapy doctor or something to get a prosthetic. You have to see a special doctor to get a leg.
Yeah, so the physiatrist. Yep, the PM&R, physical medicine doctor.
Yeah, I have an appointment on the 23rd to see one of them. They say you can't see one if you have staples or stuff in your leg. You have to have your stump completely like healed and no staples.
Okay.
Yep. So one thing I want to say is I know it sounds like it's been a long journey for you to get to this point. And but all the experience that you've had with being in prosthetics facilities, walking on, with an ankle that doesn't move, that you can't control, that's all going to be experience that's going to translate directly into you using your prosthesis.
Okay,
So,
yeah, because that's what a lot of people said. I have like so many years of experience with the walker, the crutches, the braces. So it's like, I know, like, because the doctors in the hospital were like, there's no way. Usually a person that has an amputee is usually bedbound for a while. They're not up 5 hours later walking around the hospital doing what you're doing.
right.
Oh, that's the other thing. They say for your first leg, it's always, most people prefer a pin with a suction, or what is everyone's first, like, what do they prefer for their first leg?
So I mean, everybody's preference is going to be personal. Personal preference is going to be a personal thing, but I would say that's a good place to start. You want to think about your first process.
A pin.
Yep. Yeah. So a pin lock.
Pin. That's what I got.
Yep.
My first one was a suction, and then I talked to some guy who said his pin lock was great, so I got one to prescribe that to me, and that's what I'm using, the pin lock.
Very good. And I like the pin lock system typically because it's really adjustable, and in the first 3 to 6 months, your leg is going to change so much. So it's one of those things that starting with the pin lock, when you realize this isn't necessarily going to be your final prosthesis, right? This is one that you're going to use for physical therapy, to start your rehabilitation, to get the process going. It's a great place to start. And then when it comes time to get your definitive prosthesis and you're looking into something that's more long-term, that's a good time to trial different systems to see what you prefer. I don't personally wear a prosthesis, but I work with hundreds of people. And I can tell you that if I were a betting man and had to bet on what people would pick, I wouldn't be in business for very long. So a lot of times I like to let patients try both systems and then make a determination about what's working best for them.
Well, yeah. Now I heard there is a pin in the suction, but then I heard there's a vacuum one too. Somebody said there's people that say the vacuum one's really good too.
I'm a big proponent of the vacuum one, but not early on. What happens is when your limb changes early on and you're learning this, the vacuum system makes a small problem a very big problem before you have a chance to know what's happening. So every process is going to have a little bit different opinion, but I typically don't like to start to fit somebody with a vacuum system until they're about 2 years post-operative. And then that way, what to expect, how to keep these things. A vacuum system is a very good system in terms of having your leg really connected to the prosthesis as good as possible. But it's one of those things that if you don't, as the person that's using it, if you don't notice the problem right away, it can be a really big problem by the time you take your leg off at the end of the day. And so you want to get through that learning curve before you try something like that.
All right. Yeah, because the real thing was I was like very active. See, before I lost my leg, I was doing anywhere from 10 to 17,000 steps a day, maybe 3 to 4 miles. See, I want to be active again. I don't want to be in a wheelchair or walker. Screw that. I want to be getting back. I want to be playing softball, baseball. I want to get into sports again.
So what I want to kind of encourage you on is at the very beginning, take it slow. Take it slow. When you first start out, it's not a no pain, no gain situation. It really isn't. It's one of those things. There's certain things that you don't want to try to tough out because you may just do damage to your limb. So it's about really taking it slow the first couple months so that once your leg is a little bit more stable and it's not changing in size and shape so much and those things, then you're ready to push. So it's about, and I say those things and I would be the least patient person if it was up to me to do it. So I don't say it like it's an easy thing to say or just, trust me and listen. But it really, the people that I find do the best, they take it slow and deliberate for those first couple months. Think about it like a marathon, not a sprint. If you go sprint out of the gate, you're going to stumble and you're not going to be able to finish. You're going to have blisters. You're going to have skin breakdown, other problems. If you really set out slow and determined, you're going to hit your stride. You're going to find your pace and you're going to keep going.
Okay.
And knock on wood, I've never had a blister. And I've never, I've fallen down a few times, but I've never had a blister. I've always had a pretty sturdy leg. And I got, like I say, I got one of them pin latches, and like I say, that's what I have. And I've only had 2 legs. One of them got super, shrunk quite a bit, and then the other one shrunk quite. And this one here, it shrunk, but it's pretty nice.
Yeah.
Good. Good.
Well, good. And just to kind of keep things rolling, Candace, we're going to roll to you next. Okay. If you want to go ahead and introduce yourself.
All right. Hi, I'm Candace. I'm from Tennessee. I went to a doctor's appointment for leg and foot pain and was immediately admitted into the hospital because I had no blood flow. Was on a heparin drip for 4 days trying to get, I had blood clots, trying to get the blood clots to release. Had a below the knee amputation in March, acquired a staph infection from the amputation that never healed. So I ended up getting sepsis and osteomyelitis. And then I had an above the knee June 2nd. And just started seeing my prosthetist. I'll be going back for my 3rd appointment on Friday for my 2nd demo on my leg. I was also diagnosed with a rare autoimmune disease, antiphospholipid syndrome, which causes blood clots. So I cannot use the vacuum suction because it can cause, like bruising and stuff and cause more clots. Right now it's suction, suction that they're doing with that. I was in so much pain from March until my amputation, my 2nd amputation in June, because of the infection and not getting anybody to listen to me about the pain and everything until it got to be a dire situation where I had to be hospitalized and on antibiotics and that kind of thing. So it's been a very emotional thing, especially, walking into the doctor's office, not thinking that, you're going to have your leg cut off, in 4 days. So
Right.
It's been a very emotional journey for me.
Well, sorry that you had to go through all that, but we're very happy to have you. And if you have any questions throughout this, feel free to ask. And we're glad that you're doing good now.
I do have like a small question, and I keep meaning to bring it up when I go in to see my prosthetist, but with my shrinker sock, there's like a fold in my stump area. Now it doesn't hurt or anything, but I'm just kind of wondering if it's like a crease in my stump, and I'm just wondering if that's normal, if it'll even out, or like.
So I've got a question. Where that crease is forming, can you move your skin around in that area? Is there a place on the inside of that crease that feels stuck? Or does everything move over the bone easily? You'll move around easily. Does your skin over your limb move the same as the skin on your arm?
Yeah. The skin moves around, and that's another thing. When I tried on my demo leg is like I'm trying to figure out how to describe this, but like it feels like my leg it's not loose, but like the meat moves, you know what I mean? But like the bone part, do you know what I'm trying to say? Like
I do.
Okay.
We say this as a really crude thing, but with an above the knee amputation, we talk about our job is the same as stabilizing a popsicle stick in a bowl of Jell-O.
Yeah,
right?
That's what it feels like.
and that's what we're trying to do. So it is quite a process through the fitting process to really get that so that all of your skin tissue is inside the prosthesis and being supported, but there's also enough contouring in the socket that you're when you move, you feel like your femur is being supported. So keep talking to your prosthetist about that sensation. Those are adjustments those are common, those are normal sensations that you're feeling, and they're things that should have solutions. So keep talking about that with them. And as far as the crease, it's not, as long as it doesn't start to, you don't see blisters forming on the edges of it. If you don't see anything like that and the skin stays mobile, it's just part of what your skin is doing. That's just the shape that it's taking.
Okay.
So don't to be overly concerned about there.
Thank you.
Awesome. Well, happy to have you with us, Candace. I'm going to just go next on the list. Coleman, I have you on here next on my line. Do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hi, you guys. I'm Coleman. I feel a little uncomfortable. I had my surgery 2 weeks ago. I don't have use of either one of my feet, and I've been in bed for 2 years, and I've been diagnosed with CRPS for both. So they're starting with my worst foot. So I actually feel a huge relief in pain. Um, so once I get going on my left foot, then they're going to do my right foot. And it happened during COVID after I went back to the gym. I was extremely active before. So my question is that I have my scar, can I show you, is on the bottom of my foot. It's because and so I'm just kind of wondering if this is going to be a problem with the suction, with the regular prosthetic. Is that going to be a problem?
Trying to get a better view, sorry.
Can you put it a little closer to your camera, please?
Wait. It's like a little bit off center, but it's on the bottom.
So you're talking about the incision?
Yeah.
You know, as long as all that heals up well. So I mean, I'm trying to see so it goes across horizontally, but then it kind of goes down the side a little bit too. Is that what you're talking about?
Well, I'm worried about that it's kind of in the center, that it's going to be very close to where, it's going to hit the bottom of the socket.
Oh,
And
I see what you're saying. Yeah, because it's right at the very bottom.
Yeah, it's a little off center from the very bottom, because the
Yep.
surgeon that did it is prefers OI. And so I think he set this up for in case I had a problem that I could easily be converted to OI.
Okay.
But I didn't want to be OI because it's 2 legs. I figure I'm going to have I don't need to run the risk of all that infection stuff. So,
Sure. Yeah, I mean, as long as everything heals up good, that should not be a problem for you with the suction and even the contact at the bottom of the socket. We don't typically, we try to put weight bearing through the socket in other areas other than the very bottom. So, as long as your prosthesis gets fit correctly, that shouldn't be a problem for you.
good. So yeah, and I feel like as far as like my incision is good, it's healing good. I've had like in my surgeries only 50 cc's of blood loss, and then the drain was completely empty. I got no blood out of the drain.
Great.
And I've had absolutely no leakage or blood. And so all I guess I'm trying to do is I'm 2 weeks out. In 2 weeks, I have my stitches removed, minor stitches, not staples.
Yep.
And then, and the same day I meet with the prosthetist and get the shrinker. So right now I'm trying to just kind of keep it a little bit tight so it's not such a big job. And the bottom part is pretty floppy, like an older person underneath their arm. It's getting kind of like that, which I think is good and looks kind of wrinkly. But I guess that's all I can do is my exercises for that particular leg, and keep it straight, don't bump it, do those exercises, and wrap
That's
it.
one of the most important things, is to keep it safe. One of the biggest setbacks you can have is either a fall or hitting that incision on something and busting a stitch out and having it open up, because it just sets your healing back.
And do you guys think that was a good pick to pick a socket over OI? I mean, I could have done either one, but I
mean, that's going to be opinion. I think because you said you're more confident with going the socket route, then I think it was a good decision, because it was your decision and what you're more confident with. So, I mean, I think there are benefits and drawbacks to each system, or else everybody would get one, right?
Mhm.
If one was just clearly superior to the other, then everybody would go that route. So it becomes a very personal decision. So based on the fact that you did the research, you came up to the conclusion, then I think that it's the right decision for you.
Okay. Okay. And so good. I'm glad the scar is not going to be a problem. And then just slowly, do you think these phantom pains will just kind of go away?
So one thing you want to start doing right now while it's healing is start massaging your tissue. So start massaging things. I know you can't put a shrinker on it right now, but But a lot of times what's happening, those phantom pains are most acute right after the surgery because there's so much swelling and pressure on your limb and all the nerves. So because you can't put a shrinker on yet because you have stitches, but you can take your fingers and you can massage your limb, and you can start to get fluid moving. You can massage things, not right on the incision site. Let that heal up, like Brian said. You don't want to start, don't start manipulating the incision site until the sutures come out. But everywhere else, you can start giving your leg a massage, start doing that kind of things, moving it around, all that movement. None of that stuff cures phantom pain, but all that stuff can help with it.
And icing and elevation, just trying to get the
Correct.
And wrapping it a little bit tight with the ace bandage.
Yep, exactly. Yep. A lot of times people say the phantom pains are the most acute. They're the worst when they take their prosthesis off at the end of the day. So you've had all that pressure on your leg all day with your prosthesis. Then all of a sudden you take it off, and your body, the release of the pressure is what triggers the painful sensations for a lot of people. So a lot of times doing things that would kind of put some pressure on your leg can actually help.
Yep.
Okay.
And where are you from, Coleman?
I'm from West Virginia.
Awesome. Well, happy to have you.
Thank you.
I'm just going to move on. Next on the list, I have Adam there. You want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hi, my name's Adam. I live in Cincinnati, Ohio. I've been a left below knee amputee for 2.5 years now. I feel kind of guilty, honestly, when I talk to people because I don't have phantom pain. I didn't have any issues with a scar. Like, everything's gone just about as smooth as it could go for an amputation. So it's almost like I feel guilty sometimes, but just went through transmetatarsal amputation on the right foot. So still kind of non-weight bearing on the right foot, but things are going pretty smooth. I just wanted to jump in today, and I talk to Abby sometimes, and she told me about this meeting. So it's always good to reach out in the community and just meet other people and see how everybody else is dealing with stuff. So
yeah, absolutely. Well, happy to have you. Did you have any questions right now, or?
There's nothing I can think of. I've been I started off in a sleeve system, suspended vacuum system, or suspended suction, I guess. And then I switched to a seal-in liner. And actually, I've kind of shrunk out of that socket, but with a setback with the transmetatarsal, I'm actually, my prosthetist called me the other day, and he's like, "Hey, I got a test socket laying here waiting on you whenever you're ready," but we're going to a vacuum system. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, cool. Well, we'll just kind of keep moving on here too then. Just real quick, I wanted to, Scott Veronica's on here too. Nate and I is our business partner. He's an amputee himself, but he's next on my list. So go ahead, Scott. We don't have any volume on you, Scott. Dave, we'll go to you next while they get the volume figured out there. And yours is muted, Dave.
You hear me now?
Yep.
Okay. I'm Dave Laddie. I've been at Amputee since 2017. Saginaw, living here in Saginaw, Michigan. I'm below the knee amputee. Of course, I've been coming to you guys since actually before I even had my leg removed. And so I just come on and see what everybody's got to say here.
Do anything with it.
I personally like the
that says,
oh no, that's on. So your battery bars are right there. So your battery's on.
Hey, Bill and Scott, you're not muted.
You're on now.
you can hear me now?
Yep.
Sure can.
Okay, good. Sorry,
Dave, go ahead and finish up, and then we'll go to Scott there.
Well, that's about all I got to say. Let Scott talk. He likes to talk.
No, come on, Dave. You got to ask a question. We can't let you off that easy.
Well, I do got a question. I do got one on the foot covers. They don't make one that really fits good on the foot. So is there any other kind besides the rubber little foot that goes on that's possible? I did see one for the All Pro that looked like two halves that went together. I don't know if you know anything about that, or is it any good?
They did. We know that they discontinued it.
Yeah,
That it was a decent option for that stuff, but they're currently not in fabrication.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
So yeah, and unfortunately, with the foot that you have, the All Pro that you like, it works really well. But one of the biggest, I'd say, negative drawback with those is the foot shells. They just don't fit on there very well. And I think that I had one, and those black shells worked pretty good for that. But right now there really aren't any plans, because everybody who had the black shells wanted to get newer versions of those, and we're just unable to come up with anything at this time. So some of the other the foot shells fit better, but that particular one, that's a common complaint, wouldn't you say, Nate and Brian?
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a minor thing. This is the best foot. I love the foot. It seems like you have so much more control. It feels more natural than the other foot I had. So
yeah,
awesome.
And you sound like
just
everyone else. Yeah,
that was just one of the issues that. Hey, can I talk, Scott? Come on. That was just one of the issues I have, because when your shoes on and everything, it just sort of flops a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay, Scott, you can talk now.
I'm good.
No, go ahead and introduce yourself, Scott.
I'm Scott Bronick. I'm a prosthetist with Bremer Prosthetics owner. Also, I'm a below the knee amputee. I lost my leg in a motorcycle accident in 1994, and been wearing a prosthesis ever since. So
awesome. Well, does anybody else have any other questions right now?
Yeah, real quick, a waterproof leg. I heard they do make them, but they're very expensive. Or is that true? Or do these people have waterproof to go in the shower? Can you wear your prosthesis in the shower?
So I'll start. I'd say first thing that you want to do is you want to communicate to your prosthetist how important it is to use your prosthesis in the water. That's number one, because even in a worst case scenario, your definitive prosthesis can be designed so that it can be used in the water. We really, really encourage people that don't let water be a barrier. I mean, there's so many things that, benefits of being in the water. I mean, we're from Michigan, so we're water people, right? That's kind of our thing here.
Well, yeah, I'm on the Jersey Shore. I'm in New Jersey, right along the ocean. I'm like, my house is a block away from the beach.
Right. So step one is, I mean, if insurance coverage may or may not do that. It's something that we're working on policy, trying to get insurance companies to cover some of these things. And so there's some big initiatives that we're working real hard on nationally that we're really personally involved with. But as of right now, they don't have to cover that. But if they don't, but some do. So if yours doesn't, it's something to talk to your prosthetist and let them know it's really important to get in the water. I want to make sure that everything that you provide for me can go in the water.
Okay. And then getting a custom socket, I see people that have they have sports teams on their socket. Is that hard, or is that what do they do? You get a custom socket, say whatever you like pictures, and a plain regular one.
That's actually pretty easy. It's kind of just the final stage of fabricating your socket. You can even get Green Bay Packers stuff like Scott has.
Oh, come on. I was gonna say that's the only thing we can't do. You stepped on my toes there, Brian.
I'm sorry. No, I'm more of a New York guy. I know you guys are up that way. We go for the New York.
We're not Packers fans except for Scott. So
okay.
And then for mine, I had a tattoo on my ankle that my best friend ended up taking a picture of before I lost my leg, and I sent it to my prosthetist, and what they're doing is they're going to put that tattoo on my socket for me so that I can have my tattoo back.
That's awesome.
That's cool.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a pretty easy step though, Steve. Honestly, I mean, it's just a lot of times it's just some fabric that we put in the final piece of the lamination, and then it just gets attached in there with resin. So it's pretty simple to do.
Okay, and then I heard with Medicare, if you're on Medicare, you have a 90-day policy. If you have your leg, say if you don't like your leg, you can return it to your prosthesis. There's like a 90-day thing with Medicare or something if your leg don't work that good.
There is a warranty. There's a warranty. I mean, I'd say a lot of it is, you know, if it's not designed properly, or if there's something, you know, if there's a flaw in fabrication, but routine follow-up on your prosthesis should be part of your care no matter what. So
Okay.
if that's something that's not being provided, you want to continue to, you want to call if you need something. Make sure you make regular appointments. Make sure that you're, you know, if something stops working for you, or if it's not fitting correctly, make sure that you're, you know, communicating that with your prosthetist. If they're not listening, then maybe they're not the best provider for you at that point. And you remember, you have the choice in who you go to for your prosthesis. That's something that you get to choose.
Yeah.
We always kind of promote self-advocacy too. So, you know, the warranty a lot of times will cover something that maybe breaks or along those lines. As far as the fit goes, like Nate was saying, that's going to be with regular follow-up appointments. We typically will fit you with that plastic temporary socket, where we refine that over a period of time before you get the finished product. So just make sure that you're happy with how it's fitting before you or the prosthetist proceeds to finishing that up for you.
Yeah, okay, because I heard it's like, say I'm a very active person, or like you got somebody that's bedbound. Now, is there like a rule, like it's every 5 years you could get a leg or something, but it's like, it doesn't go by how active you are. It's like what, every like 5 years you could get a new leg or something?
Those kind of statements, I don't know how they kind of get quoted so regularly, but it's whenever it's medically necessary. Your limb is going to go through a lot of change in the first 2 years, or even, so after, if you take on other activities where you become more active. So whenever your leg is proven to be ill-fitting and the prosthetist has made several attempts to try to adjust the fit and it can no longer be adjusted to your comfort level, and if you need a new socket, or you need to, it's the prosthetist's job to prove why it's medically necessary to get you a new one. But that's one of the things that I know Brian and Nate would probably agree with me. Don't wait 5 years or 3 years to get a new. I think it was Nate and Brian were both talking about frequency of follow-up appointments and being an active advocate for yourself, even after the preparatory prosthesis. When you get that first definitive, continue to do that, because a lot happens. We say it takes 2 years just to maximize what you can do on a prosthetic limb. So obviously there's no way if you get that first definitive prosthesis 4 to 6 months after you have your surgery, there's no way that there aren't going to be a lot of changes where you might need other things. So just close relationship with your prosthetist, regular appointments, and you should be working with someone who knows how to get you what you need when you need it.
Okay.
Anybody else have any questions?
I just have one question.
Yeah, go ahead, Coleman.
If you could just briefly describe to me like the process, like you go in after the stitches are removed and you get a shrinker, and then at a certain period of time you go get a temporary foot. Is that?
So the purpose of the shrinker is you've heard us talk a lot about limbs changing, volume changing, that type of thing. So we want to reduce any initial fluid that we can, because if we fit you with a preparatory prosthetic limb, we want to ensure that it's still going to fit you a month later. If we didn't do any type of shaping device, the pressures that you're going to experience standing up in the prosthetic socket or weight bearing in the prosthetic socket are going to be significantly greater than the compression that you'll get from the shrinker. So we're trying to shape that, try to move some of those fluids. Then we get you into the preparatory prosthesis. You could say a time frame of 4 to 6 months. And Nate, Brian, chime in here, with me if you have anything to add to that. But
yeah, I think to go through just kind of getting the preparatory prosthesis. So, like you're going to have that shrinker, you're going to wear that. You'll probably be set up immediately for a follow-up appointment when you get the shrinker for a cast, or maybe some places take scans of your legs. There's different ways that they do that so that you can get your first prosthesis. I don't know if I keep that.
Well, so they're going to get a shape, whether it be a cast or a scan, like Nate was saying, and then what they're going to do is modify that. and fabricate a test socket or something for you to try on initially.
How long does that take? Like,
Well, that's dependent on where you're going.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I was gonna say, because it's weird, because like, see, Coleman said she's 2 weeks out from her. I am too, but I already have a shrinker on my leg. They put my shrinker like 2 days after surgery. Still got staples in my leg, and I mean, I don't have no. They told me they put my shrinker right over my staples.
So that's the preference of the vascular surgeons. Some vascular surgeons won't want compression devices on there. Others, there are benefits to, we follow whatever the doctor's orders are. So that's really your surgeon. And I think Nate was alluding to earlier, when you go there and you get those staples out, that's when they kind of turn you over to the prosthetist. And then, but yeah, like a lot of times you'll hear doctors or vascular surgeons say they don't want any compression on there, so they want to shrink it, but yet they're wrapping it with ACE wrap, which is compression. So it's just, whatever.
When they first did the surgery, it was really, man, he had that thing ACE wrap so tight, I thought my leg was going to burst.
Yep. So, but yeah, that's really up to the surgeon. And then from that point, so she'll wait till she gets the staples out and then she'll get one. It's not really going to put you behind the 8 ball too much, Coleman, but it may, be a couple more weeks before you get casted for the preparatory prosthetic limb.
so there's two, there's a preparatory one and then a final one.
So, the purpose of the preparatory prosthetic limb is kind of twofold. One of them is, we want to get you something basic so you can get up and you can start physical therapy. We want to get you up and get you walking again. As your muscles will deteriorate 7 to 8% for every week of inactivity. So if we've got, 6 to 8 weeks or longer of not ambulating with your sound limb and everything else, we want to get you up on your feet as quickly as possible. So we're going back to physical therapy, learning balance and control with the prosthetic limb, strength training on the other side, but also shaping that limb. Like I'd mentioned earlier, the compression and the pressures that you'll feel on your residual limb in that prosthetic socket will exceed that of the shrinker alone. So during that time frame, you'll get up, you'll be walking, and you'll be doing certain things. So when you get into the definitive prosthetic limb, I think someone was talking earlier about a pin system, and Nate was saying, well, when you're starting out, that's a good suspension system. It's more basic. But now we get into, do you have soft tissue, on your residual limb that you need a more advanced, something a little bit more aggressive with suspension, so you might change the suspension system at that time. It still might be a little early for suction, definitely too early for vacuum in our opinion, but prosthetist opinions may vary. But the type of foot selection that you get, the type of knee, if you're above the knee, those kinds of things. Now we're looking at examining you and evaluating you for components that are not fitting your lifestyle, because now we're not just talking about the things that you want to get back to doing, but on some level, you should either be working towards getting back to doing them or maybe even doing them already. So I talked about feet. If you're walking on uneven terrain, like grass obviously is softer than cement. So you would want a foot that would accommodate those different surfaces. Or if you're just in the home or using a walker all the time, the demands on that foot wouldn't be as great. So that's where we get into. So the definitive is really now kind of the first prosthesis, the more custom designed to you and your lifestyle.
I kind of wanted to chime in too, and I know it might sound like semantics, but a lot of people use the term final, preparatory and final. We don't like to use the word final prosthesis. We like to use the word definitive prosthesis, because our bodies don't stop changing at any point in our lives. So with a prosthesis, even 5 to 10 pounds of body weight change can really change the way that socket fits on, and it can make this a socket that felt like it was the best fitting socket ever feel like something that can't work, and you're unable to even take a step on it. So we really like to kind of not think of things in terms of final. And like I said, I know lots of people use that term and they use it so loosely. I just like it when patients don't think of it as final, so that they know that this isn't their last option or their last recourse. We don't want you to think that just because you got your definitive prosthesis that you won't still need care for the rest of your life. You're going to require prosthetics care, as long as you want to stay walking. And even if you decide to not walk, to transfer, to stand up and cook, to do even simple tasks around your home. So prosthetic care is really a lifelong thing, and with your body changing, your final prosthesis will be the one that comes, right before, before the end.
The other thing, Coleman, too, that I was going to just touch base with what like Nate and Scott said too. A lot of people will throw numbers out there. So like you mentioned, there's two prosthetics, like a preparatory and a definitive, and those are the terms that we use. But there's no way to predict or know how many devices you're going to have over your lifetime. So, the way that we use the terminology is typically that preparatory prosthesis is the first thing that you get following either an amputation or like a revision surgery. And then the next one is the definitive prosthesis. Now, once you get that definitive prosthesis, you might get 8 more definitive prostheses over your lifetime. So there's really, like saying that there's really just the two terms that we use for describing them in the timeline process. But there's no way to predict how many you're going to end up having. I mean, Scott, you wear a prosthesis. How many have you had?
I can't even count.
Yeah.
I quit trying to keep track.
Yeah. So, and that's just all dependent on your body and how much your residual limb changes over time, your activity level, and just other factors that may justify replacement of that device over time. So hopefully that helps.
So the temporary one, maybe you can get in like a couple weeks after.
I for a timeline, and Nate and Scott I think are close because we've worked together for a long time, but typically from the time of a casting for your preparatory prosthesis, you're usually standing and walking on that within a week or so. And then to have that finished up for you, like not the temporary plastic style socket, a couple weeks.
Oh.
Very, very fast, like Brian said. I mean, the idea is that, the goal of the preparatory prosthesis is to get you started in physical therapy, right? We really want you to be able to start this journey. So it'd be less, and we also expect that your body's going to be changing a lot as you adapt to using a prosthesis, both the size and shape of your limb and your muscles and your ability to control it, your strength and balance. All those things are going to be changing a lot. So we don't take a lot of time to refine and perfect this very first one. It's more of an ongoing process. We want to get you something so that you can stand up, you can show up at physical therapy. And then we're going to start seeing you in our clinics. We're going to start seeing you very regularly over the time that you're using that preparatory prosthesis, so that as your limb is changing, as your strength is changing, we're making sure that the prosthesis is adapting to meet, or we're adapting the prosthesis to meet your needs. So a lot of people will say that, with a prosthesis, they'll say, well, this never fit. Well, if you really remember on day one, it did fit very well, or they'll say it's never been right, or it changed. Well, a prosthesis doesn't change unless you come to an appointment and have it changed, but your body will change. So you want to think about the fact is that this is a constant refinement process. So especially in the beginning, you want to, really be in your prosthetist's ear about every little thing that you're noticing, so that you can be as confident about how it fits, about how it's working as you possibly can.
Okay.
I know the first year is tough. First year, you have a lot of changes.
Okay.
And how many appointments do you think you had in the first year, Dave?
What's that?
How many appointments do you think you had in the first year?
Oh, a lot. Especially at the beginning. At the beginning, I tell you, I went and seen Scott. I think close to 3 times in 1 week one time, because just to make adjustments and stuff, because my leg was really big at that point, and they had to make so many changes to the socket that it would feel good. But there was times, about almost every week, he would see me to make sure everything was okay and make sure I was walking right and proper and everything, So yeah, the first year's sort of tough, but once you get past that, and everything will work out. Well, I got to go because my dog's going to be barking here in a minute. So my uncle's joining us, Dave. Yeah. All right. Thanks, guys.
Good talking to you.
Yeah.
Take care.
Yeah. Bye.
So I do have a question. I'm a CNA, and so I was walking up to 10 miles a day because I worked in a nursing home, and I was told by my prosthetist that it could take me a couple of years before I'd even get close to being able to have that kind of activity again. And I'm just wondering, is it like the more effort you put into it, the quicker it'll be? Or like, I know you said at the beginning that it's not like no pain, no gain or whatever, but like, is there something I can do to kind of speed up the process so that I can get back to what I was doing?
So the first thing I would say is the physical therapy. Do not overlook the importance of the physical therapy. But you have to remember this. Physical therapy, going to physical therapy means that you're there 2, maybe 3 times a week, right? Is that enough time to really get better? So what you have to do is your physical therapist will give you exercises to do at home. Focus on those, do those. The time in physical therapy is great, but if you just do what the bare minimum, what they say, then you're not going to advance as fast. Well, and they won't be able to give you new things. You'll keep working on the same things during your physical therapy experience. So if you can stretch that out, if you could do it, your insurance company is going to limit how much therapy you can have. So if you can spread that out to fewer appointments per week and say, but say, I'm going to do this stuff at home. I'm going to go once or twice a week. But at home, I'm going to put the real work in so that I can get stronger. And if they tell me to do 20 of these every day, I'm going to do 20 of them every day. And then do that. Then the next time you come in, you can get 20 of a different exercise instead of them just going through the same thing while you're in that physical therapy experience. That's number one. Number two is I want to put a shameless plug in for our Step Up program. We really think we work hard on this program. It is an online exercise program. It's free. We're going to be convening again in September, October, and November. So it'll kind of be on the timeline that you're ready to work. Come in, see the exercises that we're doing, participate. We'll give you, we are not here to replace your physical therapists, but we're going to give you a different set of eyes, a different set of exercises, different things to challenge yourself with. So those are the things that you can do. But we also tell everybody that it takes 2 years to maximize what you can do with a prosthesis.
Okay.
Now, that doesn't mean that it won't be functional right away. With the therapy, you may be up walking with a walker, progressing to a cane, but all the things that were discussed here today, because we've got quite a few new people, those changes, it's like Dave had mentioned, the gentleman who just had gotten, who left the conversation. He was very active. He could walk without an assistive device pretty early into the situation, but those inconsistencies can create some, frustration at times. It's like, boy, today I could get up, I could walk, so far. And then today it seems like I can barely, walk around the house without my leg hurting. So and the reason we started the Step Up program, I guess, just to, Dale, what Nate had said is because we don't believe that, it's not, we don't believe it's just a fact. The insurances do not pay for the amount of physical therapy that you need to recover at the level that your body would be able to recover if you were to get all the training that you needed. So, but when you're out there and your body's going through those changes, this is the one area where people always say, oh, know your body, listen to your body. There's going to be times that you can go out there and you will benefit from walking a little further and pushing yourself. But there's times that if that limb is not fitting right in the socket and you need to add a sock and you're not adding a sock or doing things, that if you do push it, and that's what we mean by the no pain, no gain, that you could actually cause trauma to the residual limb tissue by skin breakdown or blisters, in several different ways. So it's important to try to do what you can do. But this is a time that people really learn about their bodies, because the other thing that's happening with your limb too is the more you wear that prosthetic socket, the more you're conditioning your limb to that environment. Imagine that if you didn't wear socks or shoes and then, for a year, and then you started wearing socks and shoes and your feet would sweat profusely. That's just one example. So you may start to wear that gel liner inside of the socket. You got some perspiration because it's summertime. It's a lot easier in the wintertime. People say, oh, my leg just sweats too much. It's like, no, the more you wear this, the less you might sweat over time, and the more active you get, you might. And the thing is with that, too, is Sometimes it might be when you start out wearing it 2 hours in the morning, 2 hours in the afternoon, and then you go 3, 4, and eventually things come together, but just not overdoing it again, because your limb does need time to condition itself to its environment. So really try to know and listen to your body and try to be in tune with what's going on. And that's one of the biggest challenges, I think, for amputees, because, before we just had 2 feet, we got up and we went, and we didn't have to think about so many things. And it's like, oh, people say I had a sock and I got to do all these things. It may seem a little overwhelming early in the process, but it's kind of a rude example to oversimplify what a prosthesis is, but it's true in one regard. It's something everyone can relate to. When we were young, learning to tie our shoes seemed overwhelming too. The more we do this, the more we stick with the routine, to adding the socks, finding ways to have socks and do things, we will get used to that and we will adapt to this, because a lot of what we're doing, as well as conditioning our limbs to this environment, is just adapting to our new lifestyle, which can be a very functional and satisfying life. But there are some, it does involve a little bit more dedication on our part and some, a little bit of sacrifice, but it's worth the trade-off, because if we get what we put the work in for, we get to live the quality of life that we want to have.
The other thing I'd like to clarify, and I do stick by the no pain, no gain. When I said that, I mean that. But what'll happen is, over time, you'll learn how to differentiate between pain in your limb, that's maybe pain on a bone or a hot spot that's going to cause a blister, and that muscular pain that is maybe a good thing for recovery and that you're going to get benefit from. But at the very beginning, you don't want, there's going to be so many different sensations that you want to give it some time, so that you can really kind of learn which ones are pain that is going to be beneficial, and that tomorrow, maybe I'm going to be a little bit sore tomorrow when I wake up, because I just walked, farther than I've ever walked before. Or, boy, I feel like this is rubbing on my bone, all that's going to mean is tomorrow you're going to wake up with a blister.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you. And yeah, the whole patience thing, I'm very impatient. I want to rush things through. I just want to get it done and over with. And I've been told over and over that is the wrong way to go about this. So
we all are. We all are so impatient. We all get it. You're in the right circle.
So these were some pretty loaded answers, but these are some very good questions, especially for the stage where you guys are. So I think we're just kind of trying to let you know. And if you've already heard this stuff from other people, pushing yourself and forcing the issue is only going to set you back. That's the thing. When we talk about trauma to your residual limb tissue and stuff, that means a setback. That means if you can't wear the prosthetic limb for 2 more weeks, then, that's 2 more weeks out of therapy. And then we're dealing with the, muscles weakening again and that type of stuff.
Okay.
So I have a question for you guys. Have you guys heard of the Step Up program before today's thing? Are you guys excited to hear about is this something that you'd be excited to come to and to see?
Yeah, I would give it a shot and try. You got nothing to lose, so it's like something you could try. Like I said, I just found your thing because I was going through like amputation things, and my son saw, like, you have that little dog as your advertisement. There's like a little Pomeranian dog. And my son's like, they got a mascot. My son calls it your mascot. So my son's like, oh, there's a mascot they got. So I was like, all right, let me see what it's like.
But surprisingly, I didn't know that. But
neither did I. That's hilarious.
There was like this little mascot, because you guys are going to do that race, the 5K race or something coming up. There was this little mascot that came running out, and he a Pomeranian dog, and he started talking, and my son just caught its eye and he thought it was cute. He's like, oh, that's pretty cool.
Well, we know that dog, that's for sure.
Right. We sure do.
Yeah, I'm absolutely interested in anything that would help to get, me and anybody else to where, we need to be. I'm in a pretty rural area in Tennessee. It takes me a while to get even to my prosthetist. It's over an hour away. So there's not a whole lot of options like right here for me. Mm-hmm. And right now I can't drive. So, I'm dependent on other people, which also bothers me. So, but yeah, anything that I can do, like Zoom meetings or, YouTube videos or, anything like that.
So we
And
do have a
I'm-
big library of exercises on our YouTube videos, on our YouTube channel also,
Okay.
that we've recorded. Now we're working on a series for that are more targeted towards above the knee.
Okay.
So we don't, but a lot of the stuff will still apply. So, but if you look at it and say, oh, this is all for below the knee, we have had that feedback from people that it may not translate as well. And that's something that we'll be working on.
Okay.
Just so you know.
Great. Well, does anybody have any other questions?
I did. Well, when is the, two questions. When's the next, video Zoom meeting? Step up thing, whatever.
Right. I don't have my calendar, but I think Brianna just posted the link in the chat.
In the
September
messages, there's a
13th.
link. Yep.
September 13th.
And it's went 4 to 6 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. So I know we have lots of different time zones.
Yep, but we'll be doing the exercises. We'll also be doing interacting with other people like we're doing today. So you'll be able to hear other people's experiences. And, unfortunately, like Candace was saying, a lot of people are in areas where they don't have access to, way too many people are in areas where they don't have access. And, we used to partner with a hospital or a couple different hospitals. And then during COVID, we were shut down like everyone else. And we saw people doing the virtual stuff. And that's why we started doing it virtual, because we thought it was a good way to connect with other people who are looking for more access to information and, take charge of their own, care.
I don't see the time. You said it was the 13th of September?
Yeah,
Yes.
you gotta go under chat. You'll go into Zoom thing, click on your chat messages, and everything's listed under chat messages.
Yeah, but
There's some links
I'm
there.
there, but I just see Brianna, topics to discuss.
Scroll down. I think it's posted below that.
Yep. A little further down.
We're going to send everyone an email with all the information.
Okay. Because I still don't see
Brianna
it.
and Bill are here with me. They've got your contact information and they're going to send emails out. So you will have it.
Yeah, before we get off.
Okay, great. I hope to be in a temporary setup by then.
We got some, I guess before we end it, Steve, I guess we got something to show you. I'm not really part of this.
Okay, there it is. Yes, that's the little dog.
Bear.
Yeah, I hope you guys have a good turnout for your, bear. That's what my son saw. So I was like, all right,
Well, that's him.
he's your mascot, right? He's the mascot.
Yeah.
So not as much as we like.
Yeah, this is my older daughter, and that's my other daughter's dog. So yeah, I'm sure they're doing all kinds of things that I don't know about.
There.
I had a written question.
Yes.
So someone named Jerry, she said her husband had an amputation 11 days ago and he's in a nursing facility. She had a couple questions. One, how often does he need to change the sock? He's just laying in bed. And then should he keep the stump protector on 24 hours a day? And how about the sock?
So the issue with the sock, I don't know if they mean the sock or the shrinker, but there should be instructions from the vascular surgeon, kind of like what we discussed earlier, where he's going to want the dressing changed or inspected every so often. So they're most likely one of the things when they're admitted to the nursing home is so that they can be following those protocols. And something we were talking about, not injuring the limbs, and I didn't want to bring up a protective device if anybody didn't have one, but this person in particular was fit with a protective device, which I think is great. They should wear that whenever they're out of bed for sure, but I think if they're just 11 days post-op, and if it's something with the posterior splint, because some of these are also helping to prevent flexion contractures, and they're also helping with the shaping aspect. So for the first 3 to 4 weeks or until you get the staples out, we usually say to wear the protective device at least 22 hours a day. If you want to take it off a couple times to let it breathe, clean your limb. But there are other benefits while you're wearing this device at this time. So then once you get the staples out, oftentimes the doctors will say, okay, you don't have to wear it at night when you're in bed anymore, but whenever you're getting up or you're in the wheelchair, transferring, doing physical therapy, anything where you could potentially fall or bump your residual limb, you want to have that protective device on. So that's my answer. Nate? Brian?
I agree.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, because that's what they told me to wear my sleeve. I could wear my sleeve like there were a shrinker 23 hours a day. I could take it off for an hour like a day. I then wash it, like wash your stump area, clean it, then put a new one or clean one on.
Yeah,
Right.
That's usually what we say. Go ahead if you take it off, and you're going to change that. It's a good time to wash your limb or damp dry it. And sometimes it's you might want to just sit there for an hour doing whatever you do and let it air out, read a book, watch TV or whatever. But then just sooner than later get it back on and go another day.
Yeah, and then they said to try to try to move your knee because you don't want your knee to lock up. Like for below the knee, they said there's a thing where your knee can lock up and then you would never be able to put a prosthetic on. Like your limb would not like lock up and freeze pretty much.
It's a contracture. That's what it's called. Yeah.
And then you have to go have other surgery, or they would have to go in and.
Lots of sculpting. It just takes a long time.
Yeah, it's
Depends how
at
bad
least
it
a
is.
longer delay.
Yeah.
Yeah, now does anyone, well, I know we're all new here except for guys that work the company. Does anyone got a running blade? I know certain people say, I mean, obviously none of us look like we're going to go in the Olympics or nothing, but I heard you got running blades, all different kinds of things.
Oh yeah. I actually have one myself. I just ran a couple miles this morning, but I've done some triathlons, things like that. We have quite a few patients who are on those. I mean, everyone doesn't necessarily desire to run, but we certainly encourage people. I mean, one of the things with Step Up is people want to learn to run. They don't know where to go. And so we hit all kinds of topics, but obviously running is something that if you can do it, it helps advocate a very healthy lifestyle. And there's a lot of health benefits that can, come from that. So we definitely support all those things for those types of reasons, but we don't make as many of them as like I said, very, very few, but we enjoy doing it when we do it.
Okay.
I mean,
I
the
was
number one
told
reason
by
that we don't. Oh, go ahead. Absolutely.
I'm sorry. I was told by my prosthetist that you would have to be like very comfortable on your regular leg before you could get to the point where you would need the running blade and start to run and that kind of thing, because it does take more muscle and more effort and that kind of thing. And you can't really walk on the running blade from what I understand. It's not made for walking. It's just made for running.
Yep.
You're correct.
Yeah.
And so what I was going to say is Scott, and you're 100% correct there. I was going to say that one of the main reasons we don't do more of them though is because, like you said, we can't walk on. I mean, people can't walk on them, and then insurances don't always cover them. So those are the things that that's the number one thing that we're trying to work on. And I mean, Steve brought up our Step Up to 5K, and what that is we're promoting the fact that insurance companies don't cover a prosthesis for exercise or for recreational demands, when a lot of times they'll buy gym membership for a person, they'll pay for aquatic therapy for people, but then when they look at a prosthesis and they see something that somebody would run, they'd say, well, that's not medically necessary. We strongly disagree with that stance, and we're working real hard to change that. So hopefully in the future we get to help people out with these things and get people access to these a lot more straightforward paths to access.
Yeah, but think of how insulting it is when before there were all these Medicare plans and we see all these commercials on television where the whole time that I've been an amputee and I've been in the field, they say we don't want to pay for these exercise legs or running legs because they call them a luxury. But then they actually now go on television and promote and say, we'll give you a gym membership, because they think, well, if you think they do it because it's self-serving. If you're more active, you're healthier, that saves them money. So why don't they think that the health of amputees is important? So that's why a lot of what we do with Step Up too, and just these kinds of programs is advocacy, so that people understand when it comes to their insurance, help, just creating more awareness. Amputees are less than 1% of the population. So we don't have a lot of voice out there, and we just try to promote knowledge and get people to understand. Or, when an insurance company says, you can't have this because it's a luxury item, people kind of back off feeling like they're asking for too much. And it's like, no, you're just asking to have a quality of life. It's a fair thing to ask for. And we don't want them to be intimidated or bullied by these insurance companies, but know how to defend themselves and to advocate for what they need.
Can you have a socket with different feet, different attachments, or does it not work that way?
There are different ways to attach, one foot to the other. A lot of times it may be more ideal to just have different, if you have a socket that is shaped good already, and again, it comes down to an insurance issue. You could make, 3 different legs for 3 different types of activities, but insurances usually won't pay for that. Most insurances want to operate under the fallacy that you should have 1 leg that will allow you to do all of your activities. And that's just not, really true. But they're not going to usually pay for multiple feet either. So I think, Nate, you looked like you were going to say something.
I say there are ways to do that. But every single thing that you would attach that socket wouldn't be optimized at that point. You'd have to give up just a little bit because the position of the different feet, like relative to your body, would change, for running or for walking or for biking. So there are quick disconnects and ways to connect different feet, but you're kind of giving up something with each of them to do that.
I gotcha. So really, ideally, you would have a different foot for different activities.
Yeah, like
Right.
As an example, maybe a foot for running, an aquatic, limb that you use to shower for swimming, and then your everyday leg that you walk around with. That could be an example of where 3 different limbs might suit somebody's lifestyle for 3, different purposes.
Do they make a swimming one, like flippers kind of thing?
Mm-hmm. They sure do. They sure do. I mean, again, it's not something that insurances are going to typically cover, but it is an option that's out there.
Okay, that may be what my prosthetist said. Because I did ask about that because I do love to swim and that kind of thing. And she told me, because I have like a computerized knee, so that one, she said don't get wet at all, really. But yeah, and maybe it's because it's a different company.
What knee is it that you have?
I wish I could remember the name of it. It's black. That's about all I remember.
A lot of the processor knees that they're making are becoming more and more submersible, that you can use them in and around the water. So it might be something that in the future, if you let them know that being in the water is very important to you, that they're able to select things that are going to match that.
Okay.
But that is another example why, where it should be, justification if you had the right kind of insurance that, yeah, you can get this leg wet. So you would need or this knee wet. So you need a different kind of knee. And that's why you need an aquatic limb. That kind of that in itself is a justification.
Okay.
Great. Oh, any other final questions here?
So I
don't
hope
like the
that I
word
have
final.
my temporary setup when we meet up again. And
Yeah, that'd be great. You'll have to show it off if you do.
Yeah, no, really the next 3 months. I mean, I'm really excited about the group that we have here. And I think the next 3 months I'd be excited if you guys come to Step Up, because I'd love to see your progress over time and see how everybody's doing. And I know you're not close to us, but it means a lot to us to see people, start to achieve and to reclaim their lives. So we're really excited and think there's a great opportunity here.
so September is the next time.
Yep.
So I might, if you say it's quick, I might have I have my stitches removed on August 22nd.
Right. And if not, we have September, October, and November. So through those 3 months, we should be able to see you standing up.
Yeah, with the eye walk on the other leg.
Great.
Okay. That's where I need to get to do the other leg.
Right.
Walking with the eye walk.
Yep.
And that's possible. That's possible.
We don't, the 3 people that you have on the phone don't do orthotics right now. So that would be kind of out of our scope. We specialize in prosthetics. I know so many places you go do both. We kind of have made the decision to only focus our clinics on prosthetics. So that's something that I wouldn't want to say one way or the other, but I mean, it sounds like that there's something they're going to try, right?
That's what the doc wants.
Yep. So
I walk on one and the prosthetic on the other.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right, well, we're going to give it a whirl. I'm going to buy some bars.
Great. Mhm.
So I can do it at home.
Awesome.
All righty. I'll see everybody in September.
Thanks for
Take
coming.
care. Have a good day.
Thanks, guys.
Bye. Thanks.
Bye.
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 Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye. Okay, yeah. Good luck with your guys with the race soon. Hopefully you have good luck with your turnout with the race.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right,
Well,
have a good
I'm
day.
sure-
We'll see you soon.
We'll be giving you the updates at the Step Up Clinic, I'm sure, as to how the race went. So
Okay, no problem. Have a good
we-
night.
we might even have that dog with us.
Yeah, you gotta bring Bear. You gotta bring Bear, yes.
I'm sure he'll be there.
All right. I'll let my son watch because my son follows now. It's like, all right,
All
take
right.
care, guys. Have a good
Yeah.
night.
See ya. Bye.
Bye.